And here we are, we're live.
Okay.
You want to take that away, Jen? You want to do your
I,
orientation?
I would love to. Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Sanders, and I am joined by the legends, I would say, in the healing arts, Gary Strauss and Dr. John Beaulieu. And we are excited to come together and share a little bit about an exciting opportunity to study and learn. I don't know, I would say probably some revolutionary material, sound healing, vibration, the quantum, and learn it from the masters of our field. Someone who's been studying and curating this work for generations. So I'm so incredibly honored to be here with you, Dr. John and Gary, and to know that you have a class coming this October 31st and 1st.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'd
Yeah.
love to hear a little bit about you and what to expect in our class. And maybe Gary has some stories for us. I don't know.
Well, it's great to talk to everybody here from my studio in Stone Ridge, New York, uh, and also to be able to adapt to do such a class online versus in person. I've worked very hard to be able to do it online, and the class really is we call it quantum cranial, and I think the word quantum really it means to quantify vibration. If you take it, that's what the word was originally meant to be. And cranial work actually means to work with your head or the cranium, but it's much more than that. In polarity therapy, Dr. Stone shows the cranium's here, it's at the heart, it's at the solar plexus, and so on. So in a way, the cranium's everywhere, and we know that we're vibrational beings. One thing that we can say for sure is that we live in a vibrational universe, and that when we begin to understand the behavior of vibration and consciousness, it will make a tremendous difference about how we would approach cranial work from either a bodywork standpoint or from a tuning fork standpoint, using sound to work with the cranium. So in my class, you really don't need to understand cranial from a bodywork perspective, and you don't need to understand cranial from a sound perspective, because what I'm going to do is put all the cranial together in a whole new way so that you can integrate it into, if you know cranial from a bodywork perspective, you can integrate it, what I'm saying, into your bodywork. It'll make a tremendous difference in every aspect of your bodywork, not just cranial, and every aspect of your, if you're doing counseling or psychotherapy as well. If you know tuning forks or sound healing, if you're using any form of sound healing, then you'll learn cranial mechanics, basic cranial mechanics, and how to use the tuning forks, and that will make, and how to use the tuning forks around the cranium itself, so you don't have to touch anybody physically, and you can still do cranial work. And especially now with COVID, it's a really nice thing to know how to work with sound and vibration without having to touch. And in fact, not only will we learn it in those ways, but if you're 50 miles or 100,000 or 50,000 miles or whatever away, you can still do it. Because once we understand vibration and how it functions, then we learn how to take advantage of that understanding to help people. So quantum cranial really centers around what we might call an osteopathic approach to cranial from the bodywork side, and energetic approach to cranial from a sound healing side. So everybody walks away with new skill sets, but more importantly than the skill set, you'll walk away with this concept of how consciousness and vibration function together in the healing arts.
That's great.
Yes,
That's
that's the
great.
class, basically, yep.
It's great. And it's just good to listen to you, John. The first time I took this class with you, I would say my life changed forever. And the way that you were able to integrate the science and practical approach to the human energetic paradigm was remarkable for me and still is. And I am ridiculously excited about, always have been, about bringing you to our students and our community, to bring what you have. People get so much out of it, it changes their lives the same way it changed my life.
Yeah, and that's actually my main goal is that everybody who would work with me, study with me, be with me, have a relationship with me, because the word consciousness, by the way, means to have a relationship with. The moment you're in relationship with anything, you are creating its consciousness. Ultimately, we'll see that everything is based on consciousness. So when we come into right relationship in any context, then what happens is the vibrational field around us is more easily conducted. We're basically vibrational beings conducting vibration. So therefore, whatever you're in consciousness with is vibrating you at a frequency that's quantum, right? It's a quantification of frequency at a frequency that you can allow through. If you don't allow a frequency to pass through you, in science that's called distress. If you allow a frequency to pass through you, in science that's called EU stress or euphoric stress. And the idea of stress means is to adapt to different frequencies at a frequency level. The measurement of frequencies can be done in any number of ways, usually intuitively, and part of the class really is understanding intuition as an important part of the healing arts. We call it a feeling tone. We call it a felt body sensation. So you learn how to mindfully meditate on a relationship that you could come across in your consciousness, and you learn how to feel it in your body and sense it as a feeling tone. And you may not be able to quantify it in numbers, but you could learn to respect it in vibration.
It's beautiful. I always feel like you take things that are really deep and you make them available to people, and from a felt sense, just what you said, like I always love feeling what you're talking about, because it just seems so clear to me.
Yeah, but actually, the forefront of science, really at the cutting edge of science, is consciousness. And you have these arguments over what is consciousness. And it comes down to, and I'm actually writing an article for physicians, and a whole chapter for physicians and therapists on sound and consciousness and mind. But basically, the whole idea of consciousness comes down to, scientifically, do we quantify it, right? Can we get a frequency of it and so on to change states of mind? And the other, it's like a teeter-totter, and the other side is intuition and inner listening. So on one side you have artist, the other side you have scientist, and ideally it would go back and forth more easily. The great quantum physicists basically all said this. Wolfgang Pauli, who is probably one of the greatest quantum physicists, worked with Carl Jung. And he said to really understand reality, to understand consciousness, we have to have this balance always between the inner and the outer, between the science and the arts. And we call it the healing arts and sciences. And I'd like to say medicine should inform art, and art should inform medicine. And when the two are put together correctly, then we're going to have something. In fact, Dr. Fulford, one of the best cranial people I've ever, I had the chance to have a session with him years ago, amazing human being. He said that basically in order to do it correctly, you need to meditate, have an inner state of coherence, which we learned how to get through tuning forks. And from that inner state of coherence, we need to know our science on one side, and we need to know the art of it by listening on the other side. We mindfully listen to different rhythms in order to understand.
It's exactly what we teach our students, coherence. I mean, it's probably the number one thing that we're teaching them.
Yeah. If you don't have coherence, the rest of it is distorted. You get just like, for instance, right now we see an anti-science movement in politics, for example. It's almost like the teeter-totters. One side is saying science, the other side is saying no science, and they're fighting. But ultimately, we find science is a way to inform us. It's not the ultimate, but when it's in balance with the inner and the outer, it becomes a very important tool. Not to have it is crazy. Otherwise, either side, you get too intuitive. You start, oh, I got this about you, and you say things. You get
Right.
too scientific, and you try to quantify everything. In the field of quantum consciousness, the things that we can't quantify are called qualia. Qualia means your inner experiences that you can't really you can't say you can hear the same thing, but everybody experiences it differently. So they call that qualia, and they say it's the hard problem of consciousness. I say, as a psychotherapist and counselor, that scientists never learned how to deal with inner experience. And that's their problem. They call it a hard problem. To me, it's the easy problem, because once you sit with somebody and their inner experience, and you have a relationship with it that you're not tightening up against, then underneath of that, you'll sense a felt feeling of vibration that really can be quantified, not necessarily in terms of a raw number, not yet at least, but it could be quantified certainly in terms of vibration. And once you do that, then there's going to be a very powerful effect on the person that you're working with.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. Do you want to ask anything, Jen? You have a question?
Yeah, I do. I love listening to these pieces around inner coherence. And I think about what the world looks like right now. And I think about the value that this brings to our work and supports clients and accessing new states, and really revolutionizes this healing process. And then I think about, what if maybe I'm new to body work, or I'm not already practicing, like what would this experience have for me as an individual, do you think, if I were to come to this class?
Well, I think for one, once you understand consciousness and how it functions, and energy and how it works, it's going to be a universal understanding. In other words, and how you approach it, how you deal with it in your life can be one that you create. So you may learn certain skills with tuning forks, or I could show you certain touch skills even that you could learn, or certain things about the cranium. Those things are good. You could use them for your family. You could use them for yourself. In other words, it's not just about, I want to have a private practice and do therapy. No, it's about skills that you could learn for the rest of your life. Because my view, if it's not good enough for you to do in yourself, it's not good enough for you to do to somebody else. And and basically, everything I'm teaching, I practice on myself, my family. I practice on the guys I play golf with. I practice on everybody. It's just universal. And then, when you have certain skills in the healing arts, for example, those are skills you worked hard to get. And once you learn what I'm teaching, you can be integrated into those skills as well, and it'll ripple through them, and it will change your relationship to those skills. So my job, I like to say, isn't to teach a certain therapy skill set. It's to teach a skill set that you can then integrate into whatever you're doing.
I love that. And having had the pleasure of studying with you in my own career, you have this magic ability to translate these really complex, high-end ideals or concepts or teachings into this really like real world, everyday, here's a functional way to do this. And just listening to you, I feel that excitement of touching something new. And I love the way you deliver. It's just always has that universal feel to you, for sure.
Yeah, and just so you know, my interest is in healing and universal healing, and my interest, I guess, probably because I'm from Indiana. We're very practical people from Indiana. We know a cow when we see one. And so, but when you want to talk with somebody from Indiana, you have to say very clearly, this is a cow, this is a pig, this is your dog on the farm, whatever. So my view is, I was gifted with this ability to deal with high-level mathematics, topology, and calculus, and so on. And Indiana taught me another ability, which is I was gifted to make it practical. And for me, if you can't understand it, you don't know it. And what I found out early on actually was how many scientists I talked with who didn't understand what they claimed to understand. you know, and but so the simpler I made it, the more comprehensive I made it, the more scientists that came to my classes and stuff. And now, like I said, being asked to write chapters and articles for doctors and physicians because I'm translating these higher level math things into ways that they can relate to in their practice as well. So I think everybody, should basically be able to have this and utilize it in the context of their skill sets. That's what I want. And by the way, some of the science that we'll deal with really it will go into what we call advanced topology, which is an amazing mathematical form that's intuitive and very rigorous. That's used in all neural research. It's used in all quantum mechanics. It's used in all superfluid understandings. It's the mathematics of now, basically, and yet it's unbelievably. There's whole books called intuitive topology. It's unbelievable. It's perfect for a way to approach energy and what we're going to be doing.
And I have to say, I think what we do, and I think what you are bringing in particular, is so needed today. Like what you said, within the seesaw of those things, I think what we do offers a framework and a reference for people, and it empowers them really with, I love what you said, if it's not good for your life, it isn't, it has to be good everywhere. It's like the principles that you teach are universal, and they apply to every aspect of life, all relationships. It's really quite a thing right now in the world. To have you doing this for our communities is priceless.
But, yeah, and the opportunity to do it, it's a relationship, I'd like to say. The opportunity presents itself, and then the relationship appears, and that's consciousness right there. And everything else that happens has to basically honor the consciousness of the moment. Carl Rogers, who's one of the great counselors, used to say, when I first worked with patients, I wanted to find something to do for them. I wanted to find a way to cure them. I wanted to find a technique that worked with them. And as I got further and further along in my practice, and many years in, I realized that all I really needed to do was offer them a relationship. And my mentor was a psychiatrist named R.D. Laing, and Dr. Laing was basically someone who believed that you needed to enter into the other's reality, honor it, and be with it completely in order to know exactly what they needed. In other words, he created a relationship that was that he himself honored everything in the other, and his consciousness was able to then perceive what the other needed because he needed it in the relationship himself. And it took me, Dr. Lang was, again, very misunderstood in the psychiatric profession, unfortunately, but I think his time is coming because that's exactly what we need to work well. In cranial work, Dr. Upledger was very clear that when you palpate, you do what the other person is doing in order to know who they are and what's going on with them. You merge with them. He said, this will not be acceptable to most scientists, what I'm doing. At the same time, it's basically necessary as a clinical practice to do this. We call it reflective listening. We call it the therapeutic alliance. It goes by many different names. But once this begins to take place, then when your system is open on both sides, both scientific and intuitive, you begin to receive information that's there for you to serve the other.
Love that. That's so deep inside everything we do. Like, that we teach so many different aspects of what you just said. It's in everything that we do.
I know.
And it's because of you, really, ultimately. I mean, you seeded a lot of this with where you've come from, and I always tell you how grateful I am for it. And I know that Jen, we were just teaching cranial class in Arizona. Everybody's so grateful to be in the room,
Right.
to be with each other, because they don't get to be like that with people in the world.
Right.
And it's restorative, and it really brings them back to themselves and humanity.
Now, I think what I've been discovering is that all that I've learned in cranial, and by the way, this my bodywork cranial background is osteopathic. I studied at the Osteopathic Cranial Academy. Then I studied with Dr. Upledger, and I studied all this before it was even known. This goes back into the early 1970s, and it's just out of, I just wanted to know it. And over the years, it began to affect me beyond cranial.
Yes.
Beyond me being a doctor, beyond me doing sessions. And then I found out that I could be in the golf course with a bunch of guys playing golf, making dirty jokes, are missing the ball and screaming, and I could be there with them, have a relationship with them that was really very similar to that I would have in cranial.
Yeah.
Because I was no longer activated or plugged. I was just listening and being with them and enjoying myself, pacing the reality around me. I got great dirty jokes for golf, but underneath of that, there's a vibrational reality that I'm aware of. I have a relationship with. In other words, I'm conscious of, and they recognize it. They recognize it not necessarily in terms I would describe, but if you listen to how they relate to me, they recognize it. They know that I'm listening and being with them at a different level.
Right.
It's just like if you teach people, Gary, and they do sessions, and the people they do sessions on will say, "Well, I had the same thing from somebody else, but what you did was different, but it was the same." It's right. There's something else that's added that people pick up on, but they don't know how to describe intellectually.
That is by far my favorite thing. It's why I still do what I do. Just exactly what you're talking about. And I say it in a little different language, but that's precisely it.
Yeah.
What else, Jen? You got some more for Dr. J?
Oh man, just so excited that we get to have a little piece of you. I feel like it's been a long time since we have come together in this space with you. It is such a rare treat to study and learn. And just these things you say about that point in life where this consciousness lives outside of a session and you start becoming the change in every moment, in every relationship, both with yourself and others. That to me is kind of balm for my soul in this moment. And I think about the real power of change and the effect that will have. And just by coming together and being in consciousness and learning these things and all of that, plus walking away with an incredible new skill set that deepens any form of body work or counseling or healing work that you do. Like, I almost can't believe it's real, little.
And I would just...
Also, I was saying, I'm going to, for anybody who's enrolling in class, I will be sending out things you could watch, things you could read before. Because I want to make it so in this class online, I can be with you more like this versus be showing you a slideshow per se or something like that. So all those things that might have become between me and you in a way, I want you to have in advance for preparation. Then when we get face to face, then I can take your questions, I can be with you, I could demonstrate, we could do sessions, whatever it may be, and then we could refer back to any of that material as we like. So part of online, what makes online learning to me so interesting is that you could have a lot of material like this that would take time in person to present. You could just now look over that material over a period of weeks before class, and then when class is over and you're integrated, you can look back over the material. So you always have this constant churning of knowledge. So you have on one side the academic, scientific part of it and the experiential part, and your job is going to be to put it together. And so therefore, when I'm gone, you still have the academic part at least, and you'll relate that to the experience with me, and then you can begin to integrate that by always having access to that material.
That's great. That's wonderful. You have been, certainly in my life, but in the world, you've been a pioneer of all of this, and certainly online learning. I think I got exposed to online learning first through you and what you were doing. And now I am so excited that you're going to be bringing this and how you're bringing it. Because we need, it's this time of change and growth and evolution, and I think you're on the edge of it.
For a long time ago, I was making all my videos will be available. Ultimately, parts of them and stuff is what I use for the pre-class, and also if I've done any with slideshows, I could just zoom myself by myself for every class and interpret the slides. And I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
The only problem I had was adapting to Zoom or Ecamm.
Right.
It was a learning curve, which I figured out. Even right now, as I'm talking with you, you can't tell this. You can see the background behind me, right? That's my studio.
Yeah.
We'll have some fun. So I say, okay, let me go to where I demonstrate. Sometimes I demonstrate body work, and I need like a brick wall.
I love your studio, though, I have to tell you.
So, and then I say, oh, let's do an informal talk, and maybe I give you something of this is one of my art scores that we do concerts with.
I love your art scores, by the way. I've always been like, wow.
Yeah, that's when we do concerts, we have this playing. And then in my studio, I go back to a picture of my studio. Now, I'll make it even more fun. So here's what you were, that. So if you could bear with me, I'm going to go do something, and you'll see.
Wow. Wow.
It looks like the same thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, same. There we go. How's that?
That's great. I love it. That's very Tibetan.
Yeah, we can make it bigger. Let's see now. So we go.
Wow.
Like so. And then
Wow.
so during class we could have concerts here and everything, and if I want to move around, right? I'll show you. I go here. I zoom out. Get the chair over there. Right, and then let's say I could play. Zoom in. Hello, how are you?
That's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
You've really set it up well. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think that got away. There we go.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, I adjusted that a little bit. But basically, the whole thing is to have fun, right? So we want to learn, we want to have fun. We can take the green screen down, go to the beach, anywhere we want, have a brick wall, put the green screen up, have a piano, a lyre. We can play tuning forks back here. There's 9 microphones going at once, so you get good sound.
That's great.
And then when I do demonstrate sessions, I would just have somebody maybe right here. I have control of the zooming with the camera also. You see the tuning forks going. I'll show you different cranial moves. If I do the tuning forks, you can hear the.
Wow. That's great sound.
Yeah, nice overtones.
Beautiful.
So we have concerts and how to make those sounds work with the cranium, how to meditate with the sounds like this. All of that becomes very possible. So even now, like I said, I'm kind of, I'll zoom back in a little bit for me here.
Right.
There we go. Now I'm different, right?
I love your setup. I'm so jealous of that.
Me too.
And the thing is, yeah, I'm in New York now, but I could take that screen behind me, and I could be anywhere in Florida or anywhere, and you wouldn't. I could say I was in New York, and you wouldn't know it.
That's great. Beautiful. Good. Well, we are definitely in for a treat with you, John, and I'm going to make sure that we get it out and let everybody know about the moment and what they're going to do and how special it is. And I know that people are going to come and they're going to get lit up and they're going to get the beauty of what it is that you do and share, and that's going to enrich our communities in a profound way.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you, I give everything. I always do. And you'll learn a lot, but more importantly, we'll have a relationship that continues for universally forever, as far as I'm concerned. And that's how it should be. We live in a universal vibrational field. It's always expanding. Consciousness is greater than your brain, by the way. And your mind is also greater than your brain. The idea that that consciousness is in your brain is like saying Siri's
painful.
So if I pick up my iPhone, I go, Siri, are you in there? You must be in there. Or it's like watching television and think the actors are in the TV that you're watching. So, and I don't know. I mean, I like, we're greater than artificial intelligence in that sense, because we can have both. We can have on the teeter-totter the inner and the outer working together. A good artificial intelligence has the outer working really well and computational stuff going really well, and makes it a hard problem because we can't understand the inner part of it. But as human beings, we have this unique ability to balance the two. And we should, for healing and for ourselves.
It's great.
Beautiful.
Anything else for you, Jen?
No.
I think that's beautiful.
Pleasure. I can't top that.
No, that's about as good as it's going to be. Well, we are very excited to have you. This will be one of those moments where we are holding these classes on Zoom through both of our institutions, through Southwest Institute and through Life Energy Institute. So it's a really great moment for us to integrate that and to bring it out into our community. We're so excited about it, and we're so grateful for you, John.
I'm so happy to do this, and I'm excited because I've taught both places in my physical body. So, but believe me, we're teaching vibrational healing. What should make a difference? You see, it's
better.
It's better. I think it's so cool because it actually forces us to practice what we preach.
True.
And we can show that it works this way, and it does. You're right, Gary. I've actually found out in many of the classes I've taught and the concerts I'm doing, it works better. And I think because people are safe, they're at home, that they can, and also with this concept of the intellectual part of it before and after, you don't have to sort of think about it and try to integrate it so quickly. It can integrate over time, and you don't have to push yourself to know it right away. I think it makes a huge difference. And even when I go back to in-person teaching, it'll never be the same. I mean, it's never ever going to be the same. It's just I've learned to respect certain things that I knew, but I just didn't know how to practice them until the COVID came, and it forced me to. And I can say for the future, I'm all for being forced in a way, but I personally prefer that it not be COVID, it be something gentler.
You're here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. That's good. All right. I think we're good here. We could let it go. I think this is a great moment, and there are more moments coming. We will post this, put it up for all of you out there who are interested, and for those of you who are here and just got this little bit, I'm sure you can feel it wherever you are. And then some of you people will watch this as a recording, and it'll go out, and go back to Sweha and look up John's work, or go to Life Energy Institute, wherever you are, and find your way into the class. It will be a great moment.
Yeah, and also, if you can, make sure if you send it to my Facebook, I can send it out from there too.
We will.
I
We're
really
gonna
want to do
send
that.
it
Yeah,
out.
yeah, good.
That's great. Thank you, John. We will
Thank you,
definitely.
Gary. Thank you.
So
Thanks,
good to be
John.
with
Thank
you.
you.
Yep,
All right. I will end this then.
yeah.
Boom.